In May 2007, Kate and Jerry McCann from Rothley, Leicestershire, were on holiday at the Ocean Club in Praia da Luz, Portugal, with their 3 children. They were having dinner with friends at a restaurant in their complex when their 3-year-old daughter, Madeleine, went missing. What follows is a general timeline of events provided by the BBC. The adults had set up a rotation to check on all the children during their evening. When it was Kate McCann's turn to check, she discovered that Madeleine was nowhere to be found. They immediately notified staff, and the police were called. Other guests, police, and staff searched for Madeleine until daybreak. Border Patrol and the airport were put on notice, and hundreds of volunteers joined efforts to find Madeleine in the following days. On May 26th, police issued a description of a man seen on the night of Madeleine's disappearance, possibly carrying a child in the vicinity of the McCann's holiday apartment. In June, a Portuguese police chief admitted that vital forensic clues may have been destroyed as the scene was not properly protected. In July, British police sent sniffer dogs to assist the investigation, and further inspections of the McCann's apartment and rental car were conducted. On September 6th, Portuguese police interviewed Kate McCann as a witness. On September 7th, detectives made the couple arguidos, meaning a person kept for questioning who is not a formal suspect. And days later, the McCanns returned to the UK. Prosecutors later said there is no new evidence to justify re-questioning them. In November, Jerry McCann released a video saying he believed his family was watched by a predator in the days before his daughter's disappearance. January 20th, 2008, the McCanns released sketches of a suspect based on a description by a British holidaymaker of a creepy man seen at the resort. In April, Portuguese police flew to the UK to sit in on interviews conducted by Leicestershire police of the McCanns' friends they had dinner with on the night Madeleine disappeared. By July, Portuguese police say they have submitted their final report on the case. Weeks later, authorities shelve their investigation and lift the arguido status of the McCanns. In March 2010, the McCanns criticized the release of previously unseen Portuguese police files detailing possible sightings of Madeleine to British newspapers. By July 2011, Scotland Yard announces it has new evidence and new witnesses in the case and opens a formal investigation. By October, Scotland Yard detectives say they have identified 41 potential suspects. A BBC Crime Watch appeal features e-fit images of a man seen carrying a blonde-haired child of 3 or 4 in Praia da Luz at about the time Madeleine went missing. Portuguese police reopened their investigation to run alongside Scotland Yard's, citing new lines of inquiry. In April 2022, a German man is declared an official suspect by Portuguese prosecutors investigating the case. Christian Bruckner, then 45, is made an arguido. The McCann family marked the 16th anniversary of Madeleine's disappearance on May 3, 2022, saying she is still very much missed and they await a breakthrough. Later that month, a Portuguese news website reported that an area near a reservoir, about 30 miles from Praia da Luz, had been sealed off. Police say they will begin searching the Arade Dam on May 23, 2022. There have been no further developments in the case, and Madeleine's disappearance remains a mystery to this day. It's been 17 years with no answers for her grieving parents. Please, if you know anything or have strong suspicions of anyone, notify Scotland Yard at 0207 230 1212. In November 2003, 3 months before her disappearance, Maura Murray admitted to using a stolen credit card to order food from several restaurants, including one in Hadley, Massachusetts. The charge was continued into December, to be dismissed after 3 months of good behavior. Some think the fear of facing charges may have been a determining factor in Maura's flight from nursing school and subsequent disappearance. After midnight on Monday, February 9th, Maura used her personal computer to search MapQuest for directions to the Berkshires and Burlington, Vermont. The first reported contact Maura had with anyone on February 9th was at 1 o'clock in the afternoon when she emailed her boyfriend. She also made a phone call inquiring about renting a condominium at a Bartlett, New Hampshire condo association. Telephone records indicate the call lasted 3 minutes. The owner did not rent the condo to Maura. Monday, February 9th at 1:24 p.m., Maura emailed a work supervisor of the nursing school she attended, saying that she would be out of town for a week due to a death in her family. According to her family, this was not true. There had been no death in the family. At 2:05 p.m., Maura called a number which provides recorded information about booking hotels in Stowe, Vermont. The call lasted approximately 5 minutes. At 2:18 p.m., she telephoned her boyfriend and left a voicemail promising him they would talk later. This call ended after 1 minute. Maura packed clothing, toiletries, college textbooks, and various other essentials into her car. When her room was searched later, campus police discovered most of her belongings packed in boxes and the art removed from the walls. It almost seems as though she planned to leave the nursing school and not return. Around 3:30 p.m., Maura drove off the campus in her black 1996 Saturn sedan. Classes at the university had been canceled that day due to a snowstorm. At 3:40 p.m., Maura withdrew most of her funds from an ATM. Closed-circuit footage showed she was alone. At a nearby liquor store, Maura purchased about $40 worth of alcoholic beverages, including Bailey's Irish Cream, Kahlua, vodka, and a box of Franzia wine. Security footage again shows she was alone when she made that purchase. At some point in the day, she also picked up accident report forms from the Registry of Motor Vehicles. Maura then left Amherst between 4 p.m. and 5 p.m., presumably via Interstate 91 North. She called to check her voicemail at 4:37 p.m., the last recorded use of her cell phone. To date, there is no indication she had informed anyone of her destination or any evidence that she had definitively chosen one. 7:27 p.m. Report of a car accident. Sometime after 7 o'clock p.m., a Woodsville, New Hampshire, resident heard a loud thump outside her house. Through her window, she could see a car up against the snowbank along Route 112. The car pointed west on the eastbound side of the road. The local woman reported the car accident on the sharp corner adjacent to her home, telephoning the Grafton County Sheriff's Department at 7:27 p.m. to report the accident. A passing motorist, a school bus driver who lived nearby, stopped at the scene. He saw the car, as well as a young woman walking around the vehicle.
I just asked her how she was. She said she was shaken up. I couldn't see any blood on her face. And she was shaking like this. I says, okay, I'm going to go call the police.
He offered to call for help. She asked him not to call the police and assured him she had already called AAA. AAA has no record of any call. Knowing there was no cellular reception in the area, as the location was fairly remote, the bus driver continued home and called the police. His call was received by the Sheriff's Department at 7:43 p.m. According to the official police log, at 7:46 p.m., a Haverhill police officer arrived at the scene, but the woman driver had disappeared. No one was inside or around the car. The car had impacted the tree on the driver's side of the vehicle, severely damaging the left headlight and pushing the car's radiator into the fan, rendering it inoperable. The car's windshield was cracked on the driver's side, and both airbags had deployed. The car was locked. Inside of the car, many of Maura's belongings remained, including the accident reports she had picked up earlier in the day. Missing were Maura's debit card, credit cards, and cell phone, none of which have been located or used since her disappearance. The police later reported some of the bottles of liquor she purchased were also missing. Journalist Joe McGee, writing for the Quincy, Massachusetts Patriot Ledger, summarized the incident. At a hairpin turn, she went off the road. Her car hit a tree. At that point, a person came along who was driving a bus. It was a neighbor. He asked her if she needed help. She refused. About 10 minutes later, police showed up to the scene and Maura Murray was gone. Between 8 and 8:30 p.m., a contractor returning home from Franconia saw a young person moving quickly on foot eastbound on Route 112 about 4 to 5 miles east of where Maura's vehicle was discovered. He noted that the young person was wearing jeans, a dark coat, and a light-colored hood. He didn't inform authorities of this until much later, as he didn't realize the day he saw this person was the same day that Maura had gone missing. At 12:36 p.m. the following day, February 10th, a be on the lookout report for Maura Murray was issued. She was reported as wearing a dark coat, jeans, and a black backpack. On February 11th, Fred Murray, Maura's father, arrived in Haverhill before dawn. At 8 a.m., New Hampshire Fish and Game, the Murrays and others began to search. A tracking dog tracked the scent from one of Murray's gloves 100 yards east from where the vehicle had been discovered, but lost the scent in the middle of the road. This suggested to police she'd left the area in another car. At 5 p.m., Maura's boyfriend and his parents arrived in Haverhill. Maura's boyfriend was interrogated in private and then was joined by his parents for questioning. At 7 p.m., the police said they believed Maura came to the area either to run away or attempt suicide. Her family thought this was highly doubtful. Maura's boyfriend had turned off his cell phone during his flight to Haverhill. At some point, he received a voicemail that he believed was the sound of Maura sobbing. The call was traced to a calling card issued to the American Red Cross. A week into the investigation, Maura's family expanded their search into Vermont, dismayed that authorities there had not been informed of her disappearance. Although missing person cases are normally handled by local and state police, the FBI joined the investigation 10 days after she disappeared. The FBI interviewed family from Massachusetts, and the Haverhill police chief announced that the search was now nationwide. 10 days after her disappearance, New Hampshire Fish and Game conducted a second ground and air search, using a helicopter with a thermal imaging camera, tracking dogs, and cadaver dogs. The March 2004 disappearance of Brianna Maitland in Montgomery, Vermont, 66 miles away from Murray's last sighting in Woodsville, drew comparisons from media and law enforcement due to the similarities in disappearances. However, state police have stated there are no apparent links between the two cases. In April and again in June, New Hampshire and Vermont police dismissed any connection between Murray's case and Maitland's. In a press release, they stated they believed that Maura was headed for an unknown destination and may have accepted a ride in order to continue to that location, adding that they had discovered no evidence that a crime had been committed. On July 13th, a 1-mile radius search was performed by nearly 100 searchers, including state troopers, rescue personnel, and volunteers. It was the fourth search around the crash site and the first search performed without any snow on the ground. Authorities were most interested in locating the black backpack Murray had in her possession, but not found in her car. Police stated the search discovered nothing conclusive. In the intervening years, the family of Maura Murray have kept her missing persons case alive, via interviews, documentaries, and subsequent searches. Fred Murray, believing his daughter was abducted and is most likely deceased, is still, 20 years later, fighting to find out what exactly happened to his Maura, as is the rest of her family. Another leading theory is that Maura simply wanted to disappear and start a new life, and may have found a way to do so. Links to a website dedicated to Maura and another video about Maura's missing person case have been provided in the details. If you know anything or think you may have spotted her, please contact your nearest FBI office. Thank you for tuning in today. Please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Until next time, may God bless you and keep you and your loved ones safe from harm.